Here's our Midnight Mass after show. We'll talk about each episode. That's our hymn now. Here's your host. Amen. Hello and welcome to Midnight Mass After Show, presented by Horror Movie Talk. On a normal episode of Horror Movie Talk, we would review and discuss one horror film in detail, but for this series of 8 episodes, we will be having an opinionated and accidentally funny discussion on each episode of the Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass. Your panel of expert hosts each week are Dr. Bryce Hansen. That's me. I hold a PhD in spookology and fake theology, and Professor David Day.
Hello, I am the foremost expert in scare no-nos.
So, with no further ado, let's open with a word of prayer.
Yes, let's.
Okay. Dear Father, Daddy, Mike Flanagan, please bless us with a great after show today as we contemplate the mysteries of your great horror series.
Amen.
Help us to make sense of these things, and
hallelujah.
Bless all the children. In the name of Kate Siegel, amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Siegel.
So in this episode, we'll be talking about Book 3, Proverbs, as the episode of Midnight Mass we'll be covering. This episode fills in details about what happened to Monsignor Pruitt. We also pick up right at the moment after Lisa's spine is healed. The town clamors for more healings, and Riley is skeptical. Signs of de-aging become more pronounced, but no one openly talks about it for some reason.
That's right. Yeah, everyone's still, when it starts happening, you're scared to say anything because it's like, well, you could jinx it.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I don't need my glasses anymore. Maybe you don't jump to,
just keep that
I'm getting younger. You think like, well, maybe I'm getting diabetes. It's affecting my prescription.
One too many licorice bites. I finally got the diabetes.
So before we get too far, we want to tell you about our website at www.whorrormovietalkcomp. You can find links to all of our social media and past episodes. We post new episodes of the regular podcast every Wednesday, so please consider subscribing and especially leaving a review if you like us. If you don't like us, give us a call at 682-253-4468 and leave us an angry voicemail. Or, if you like us or have any comments about Midnight Mass, we'd welcome them there, and we'll probably play those on a later episode of Horror Movie Talk. If you really like us, head over to our Patreon, where we have a bunch of exclusive extra content. That's patreon.com/horrormovietalk. Thanks again for listening. Let's get into it. Let's get into spoilers of Midnight Mass Episode 3, Proverbs. Spoilers. Okay.
Man, this episode, just what's your overall over-under on this episode?
So,
episode 3 and leave you feeling?
3 and 4 is where I felt it switch gears.
Yeah.
Like 3 especially, like you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, like emotionally too, though. Like, obviously there's the obvious one with Monsignor Pruitt, like, whoa, that cave, and like, ooh, shit, I kind of feel some vibes going on in here, but who knows? It's still kind of up in the air, but emotionally, this one comes out the gate swinging, man. I was like, and then I was like, yeah, that's true too.
About what?
Oh man, Lisa coming to Joe in his trailer.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, fucking Oh,
man,
staggered me. Oh.
I had that written down. Robert Longstreet in that scene is amazing. Like, he deserves some kind of award for that performance, and specifically that scene.
I'm getting all teary-eyed
really,
even thinking about it.
Really powerful. Like, the confrontation of Lisa.
And Lisa.
Yeah.
She does both of us. So intense, so crazy. I've never seen a scene like that.
Yeah. And it's really great. And Robert Longstreet, he's been in this one, and he was in Haunting of Hill House, and that character too was a very small part.
Yeah, he was the caretaker, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was the caretaker,
Yeah.
but also, like, the scene where, well, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a similar scene of him confronting loss,
right,
and being, like, very emotional, and that was memorable as well.
Yeah, it kind of comes out of left field from both the characters he plays and the way he just comes off. You go, oh, this is a blue collar dude. And you go, oh, well, he's gonna hold his emotions a certain way, but he's just raw, dude. He's right there under the surface. If you just peel back the armor just at 1 inch, it's like, oh, he's just so hurt,
Yeah, I mean, it's a great character too. I mean, you see how well it's written, and how, like you said, it's just a gruff exterior and just scrape the surface, and he's just a wreck emotionally. Yeah. And it also explains his alcoholism.
Yeah.
Just how much he hates himself for what he did. Well, I guess he was an alcoholic before that, but
sure,
it's probably all contributing.
Yeah, it's all part and parcel.
So it begins with Father Paul giving, just kind of telling the story of what happened to Monsignor Pruitt, and it gives just a little taste.
Yeah, just a little taste
of what's going on there, of like Monsignor Pruitt, like, being confused and kind of wandering off. And
at first I was a little taken aback by the way that they handled this, but then I thought, this is the only way this could be told, is in a conversation with God directly, like apologizing for what you're about to do, right? Because it's a lie he's got to tell, but it's not a little white lie the way he pitches it to God. This is a fucking huge lie of omission, as we will find out later in the series.
Right. And I mean, it's interesting because it doesn't really give you that much to go off of, other than, like, I'm lying about something.
Yeah.
And it shows Monsignor Pruitt being confused in the Holy Land.
I didn't tell everybody this story. This is the real story. I'm just leaving that part out.
Yeah. And then there's a really great montage over a Neil Diamond song that's like just a perfect montage.
I was taken to see Neil Diamond in concert as a kid.
Really?
It was one of the first concerts I think I ever went to, and I had no appreciation for what was going on. But now, listening to this, I'm like, it's brought me back, kind of. Like, this is part of the thing that I was telling you before we started recording. I'm listening to Steven Tyler, Aerosmith. I've been listening to Neil, like, these great vocalists. And the way this starts with this Neil Diamond, like, I love the Neil Diamond inclusion in this series. It's like, it's so fresh and puts this spring in your step, and kind of, it feels like fall, kind of, just crisp and a new time.
I mean, you got to think of, like, it's such a strong choice because it's so against the grain of how music is chosen.
Yeah.
In series and movies right now. Like, think of every movie trailer. It's like mandatory that you have to have some classic rock hit sung in a modern, breathy way with, like, dramatic drums behind it.
Yeah.
And it's so fucked out.
And this comes with just straight up original.
Comes with a cappella
Neil
hymn
Diamond
singing and Neil Diamond.
Just a beautiful voice, upbeat.
Right.
It's
very human. It feels like very down to earth, and it fits the show great in a great way. And it's not, and then it's got a great score behind it too at moments. But strong choice for the soundtrack. first question I have is, I'm pretty sure this is obvious. It never like explicitly like shows her doing it, but Bev definitely poisoned Father Paul. Like,
no, I didn't get that.
Because it shows her putting away the poison.
Yeah.
Again.
Uh-huh.
And it shows him dying and foaming at the mouth exactly like the dog did.
I did not make that connection.
I am 99% sure that's what happened.
That makes more sense now. I was like, why are we seeing this? I mean, it's a nefarious scene, right? Mm-hmm. Where she's putting the poison back because it's like, it insinuates she used the poison again. Mm-hmm. But I forgot about it. You know, I just went, oh, she put the poison back. What's that going to be connected to? And then I never.
Yeah, I mean, I might be completely off. Well, tell me, leave us a voicemail if you point out that I'm completely off. But I think, given my understanding of later episodes, I'm pretty sure that that's the case. But it also doesn't. Yeah, there's a little. I'm still a little confused about that, and I think when you get to the end of the show, if you come back and you're like, but why did she do that though? Like, doesn't make a lot of sense why she would, other than, I don't know, increasing her glory or something. I'm not sure.
That's an interesting question. Maybe she wants to prove it to herself. You know, maybe she wants God to prove it to her.
Yeah.
That way, I mean, Bev is so over the top, holier than thou, and sanctimonious that I would believe she's the one person who would want God to prove something to her.
Yeah. Know? And it shows that she shows that she knows that Father Paul is Monsignor Pruitt. Yeah, at that moment. He's like
recognition there.
Yeah. Because when he is resurrected, she like tells everyone in the house that's who he is. And so I think there's somehow foreknowledge of like maybe he'll be safe. But even in that moment when she like sees him resurrected, she's like still shocked. I don't know. It's kind of weird to me.
I'm connecting some dots here. The first episode, when Father Paul reveals himself, the first and only person he reveals himself to is Bev in that house. She walks in, she sees the trunk on the floor, she turns, she's talking as though Monsignor, as though the elderly pastor is there, and then she turns to, oh my goodness, there you are. Mm-hmm. But then we don't get anything. That's a chance that he had to lay out his plan to her and have an accomplice in this whole thing. And that would explain why the next couple episodes, she acts as if, as if this is all for a foregone conclusion. She's like, this is how miracles happen. Sometimes they just, it's like, what do you think about that? Maybe he looped her in.
There's a throwaway moment that you might have missed, and I'm pretty sure it's early on in this episode, where Bev actually, it's either in this episode or previous episode, Bev looks at the wall,
right,
and has a reaction. And that reaction is because she's looking at the news article of the opening of St. Patrick's, and it has Monsignor Pruitt standing out in front of it, the same age as Father Paul, and it's the same person. Right. So that's when she finds out explicitly. That's where I gather that happens. I don't think it happened because she was shocked when she saw Father Paul.
It could have just been that she realized that there's evidence that other people could see.
Yeah, sure, maybe. So let's go back to kind of the beginning of the episode. There's a couple moments that are kind of throwaway moments, but I think they're important.
Okay.
To mention. The altar boys, in a previous episode, they were like, wasn't there like another bottle around here? And so there's the kind of the mystery of what's happening with the extra materials. And when the altar boy goes back into the back area to relight the incense or whatever,
he catches Father Paul
pouring he's pouring a flask into the sacrament wine, and he shows no like surprise or anything.
He's like,
I'm not doing anything wrong.
I got wine in my flask. But
it could be easily explained.
Is that Catholic pastor also an alcoholic? Shocking. We're shocked.
No, but I mean, it can be easily explained since he goes to, the doctor's mom to administer sacrament to her.
Sure.
And so he's got to have a portable
pocket
wine,
pocket blood
thing.
Pocket blood. Pocket blood. Because it's the blood of Christ, right? Mm-hmm. Technically, the sacrament is literally in the Catholic religion, it's literally the blood of Christ. It's, and then, shit. So, is that, okay. And then there's the sermon. This is another, like every sermon on the show is like very believable. It's not like over the top. This one is getting a little closer because they're basically advancing the story of like kind of preparing the townspeople for some kind of miraculous change. Sure.
Which at this point they should notice that they're, appearing and feeling a decade or more younger.
I mean, they are. They're showing up in droves, The church is full.
And then it goes, tells a little more of Father Pruitt's story, and he prefaces it with the story of Saul, which is interesting and of note because the story of Saul in the Bible is he's struck down on the road to Damascus and then sees an angel, and he returns changed, and from then on goes by the name of Paul, which is interesting since it's Father Paul's name.
Oh, shit.
And it shows Monsignor Pruitt on the road to Damascus in like a crazy sandstorm and discovers a cave.
Yeah, he's got to get shelter from the storm.
And then the other subplot that's happening is with the sheriff and his son. The sheriff notices his son is reading the Bible and then has like the separation of church and state meeting at the schoolhouse, which is a great scene.
This is such a great,
this is like one of the best scenes for Bev. Like this is one of those where you're just impressed with the writing that it can be subtle enough to be believable.
Yeah.
And just like pushy and passive aggressive enough to be a person like someone that you know.
Oh yeah.
Let's
go back just for a brief second. I love that it takes the trope of finding your kid doing something wrong and turns it on its head.
It's a Bible.
It's like if this were any middle American family, just white bread waspy motherfucker, it would be them finding drugs in their kid's drawer and being like, Bobby, I can't. How'd you flunk English? You speak English, but it's not. It's this devout Muslim family finding a Bible and being like, "The fuck is this shit?" I love that how it takes the trope and turns it on its head because it's like this. In terms of things that you could find, Bible is. I mean, it's preferable to drugs, I would think.
Right.
So I like that aspect. But, man, Bev really, I think we've all met a Bev. And we've all got feelings about this person, and they're not fabulous.
Mm-hmm. I love how they demonstrated the quandary very subtly with the sheriff going into the doctrine of Islam, like to describe like what the Bible means to him, and then going into the theology to the point where it makes everyone that's Christian in the room start feeling uncomfortable about, feeling like they're being blasphemed. And Bev's like, that's enough. And he's like, exactly. That's why we shouldn't be talking about this.
Yeah.
In school.
I agree completely.
But then the whole point of it is that Bev is taking advantage of the moment that there's this spiritual awakening, in quotation marks, happening, and the town is all caught up in it, and that's when she can snatch some power.
Yeah.
Which we learn she's done in the past.
Oh, yeah.
And if there's a moment
Joe is our delivery vehicle for that information. He's got all the dirt on Bev.
Yeah, we learned that Bev basically instigated or really pushed through a settlement from the oil company that we heard had the spill before, and that all that money was passive-aggressively siphoned into the church where she built this recreation center, but everyone has questions about, did all the money actually go there, or did it go into Bev's pocket?
Right.
And we know that she's like basically an evil person since she poisons dogs. And
do you have proof of that, Bryce? I would love to see your proof of... Because otherwise, I agree with you. We should definitely lock up
You're
this
completely
poison.
right. We should get a treasurer.
Dude, I wonder do you think anybody on Earth will watch Midnight Mass and be like, I identify with Bev?
I don't think they'd make it very far through the series.
You don't think so?
No, because I doubt that they would really start it, because I'm just going to go out on a limb and say most of those people would be pretty uptight. Ooh. And they wouldn't be into like a horror show. If
you identify with Bev in this show,
it's dark-sided.
It's
dark-sided.
I'm dying to know your point of view. Call us at 682-253-4468. Let me know why you identify with Bev.
Yeah. Tell us why Bev was right.
What would Bev do?
Yeah. WWBD. Okay, and then the other advancement is that Sarah's mother's Alzheimer's is cured to where she recognizes Sarah again and is like, I'm back.
I'm back, bitch. I'm Brittany, bitch. Yeah, no, I mean, there's so many like hopeful, interesting things happening, right? And
yeah, I mean, I'm struggling whether I want to nitpick with some of this stuff, because it doesn't. Because like, why aren't people talking about being de-aged? Like, why aren't people talking about the miracle of this person's Alzheimer's being cured in the same way that they're talking about like the spinal injury being cured?
This stuff is so gradual. All the stuff. This is why it's clever. This is why it's a clever mechanic, is because he's choosing things like your eyesight going, like slow degenerative memory diseases. It's like those things happen so at a snail's pace.
I guess what time frame are we talking about? I feel like this happens in days or weeks, not like months, So I feel like
you
would notice like, hey, you don't have any gray hair anymore.
Let me finish my thought. Like the way they degrade is over very slow time, right? And so if you have a good day, like, or two, you're just going to be like, damn, like, oh shit, like,
right.
It's okay. Like
my back didn't hurt that bad.
And you know what? With the stuff, like my grandma is, in some stage of dementia, and she has good days and bad days. Some days are real bad. Some days she's almost herself. And so it can be this like influx thing, and I don't know. Yeah, so I think it's kind of a clever tool.
It's one of those things that I'm not going to be nitpicky about, but I notice. But really, it's an asset to the show, because it's more of a dreamlike quality of like, this is happening to everyone, and not everyone's like not really noticing for some reason.
Well,
like everyone's not like acknowledging how crazy
Bryce
it is
in total. Acknowledging his nitpickiness. He's winking at it from across the room. So that happens. Another big point is Joe starts going to AA with Riley and Father Paul after his run-in with Lisa, after Lisa stops by and she's like, if I can forgive you, anybody can. And it was like, oh, shit. I was just like, I looked just like Joe at the end of that. I was like, oh, God, oh, my God. Like, there's so much of that. Did you take any of that personally? Any of that
Personally? No. I mean, I was affected by it. It was very emotional. It's a very powerful scene.
I took it personally. Like, I just take all of the things that people say in movies and shows, and I apply it to things within my own life.
Just like, oh man, I wish that girl I shot in the spine forgave me.
Not literally.
Just never take it. I never talk about it anymore.
No, I take it and I go, what parallel can I draw to my life? And then I do it immediately, ipso facto, and then it's, oh God, like, and then I can like empathize with it so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that affected me a lot. That whole thing.
I just remembered another thing that was subtle enough that I really appreciated it was whenever they touch on the racism with the sheriff and how the town views him, but especially Bev, it's feels very realistic. So when he's like, if I came into this school and was handing out Qurai? I don't know. What's the plural of Qurans?
I'm going to
Books
let
of Quran.
Hang out to dry on that
one. You'd run me out of town. And instead of like appreciating the point that he was trying to make, she's like, oh, I would never. I can't believe you would think that I am so bigoted that I would run you out of town. I would totally appreciate.
This is exactly what someone like Bev would
I
do.
know.
It's this,
I know. It's perfect.
It's this super passive aggressive, like, let me gain the upper. You took the upper hand with your sentence. Now I'm just gonna take that right back in a way that, oh, what are you gonna call me a bitch now?
Right.
Like, the next move is for him to go, you fucking bitch.
Yeah, and her power in all of this is that she knows the room way better than he does.
Yeah.
Like he constantly gets surprised by the room. He's like, oh, these aren't reasonable people. These are, real salt of the earth people. People of the land, people of the sea. Morons.
Sea people.
Wow. So, okay. Father Paul keeps throwing up throughout this episode, and then finally,
he's having a real tough time.
He's
all over himself. He faints at the start. He's throwing up. He can barely manage to keep himself standing.
And then I think finally when he falls down foaming at the mouth, then he goes and gives the big reveal of the show.
That's it. Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is a man.
So Pruitt is Paul, and Paul is Pruitt.
And Pruitt's a man.
So, did you guess this before this reveal? Like, was there anything that kind of tipped you off?
Yeah. I didn't want to say it because I thought it would sound foolish or contrite or like too obvious.
Yeah.
But I had an inkling. I was like, what if he's the same guy? That's stupid.
Yeah.
It did that to me. It was like the old switcheroo, double switcheroo.
Yeah, there was a couple things that tipped me off. One was that,
everyone's kind of going backwards.
Everyone's kind of de-aging.
Yeah.
And there's a point in episode 2 or 1 where the doctor's mom, I don't remember her name. Yeah. Again, this is another example of us being very researched. But the old lady.
Is it? No, it's not. Yes.
It's like Ellen, maybe? I don't know. Just think of old people names. When she meets Father Paul the first time, she's like, oh, is that Monsignor Pruitt? I think that's what she says. Something. Yeah. Or wait. says something that tipped me off of like, that's...
I thought I saw your father at the window, is what she said.
Well, that's later when she's looking out the window. But like,
yeah.
She was asking. She said like, "Oh, is that Father Pruitt?" And she's like, "No, this is
the new father.
This is the new father." Yeah. And so it's like,
she's like,
I have to return some videotapes.
And then Father Paul's like,
And I love the the rhetoric here of him accepting this giant winged vampire beast as an angel. It's like, that's such a great device, because he points out in the Bible, every time an angel is seen, people are terrified.
Terrified, dude. Well,
they're like struck dumb and frightened.
Look, though. Okay, so we're in the cave. We're old. Monsignor Pruitt. We got dementia. This thing attacks us. Holy shit, that was so creepy. Ugh! And so this thing attacks us, and now we're young the next day. Mm-hmm. That's a fucking miracle. It is.
Yeah.
It is a miracle. A vampire is a miracle. Like, no matter how you cut it.
Right.
It's magic. There's some magic thing on Earth.
I mean, it's a winged beast. I mean, how many winged beasts do you know of?
Yeah, just some magical thing that flies through the air. Okay. Wait. No, but how do we know angels aren't vampires, Bryce?
Right.
How do we know? Don't know.
But I love that's the route that they're going. And this was like, again, it turns the corner on the series, and I'm like, this is great. Because it's not the easy way. It's
very hard.
Oh, it's a demon, you know.
Yeah.
The demon is the easy thing. It's an evil presence. And it's like, Bagul is here or whatever. He's going to be spooky, and he's going to have wings and jump on people.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is pretty straightforward vampire lore.
Yeah.
And, I mean, for the record, if you're going to be attacked by a monster, I feel like vampire is probably the best way to go.
Actually, that's a good point.
I just like my neck being sucked.
I mean, that's number one. Fabulous. But also, like, okay, so what are the other options?
So you got Wolfman?
You got Wolfman, which is one of the good options, right?
No. You'd be mauled.
Well, yeah,
I but mauled.
Let me explain my thought process here. If you're being attacked by a mummy or a thing from the Black Lagoon or I don't know, Frankenstein's monster, you're just simply going to be torn to shreds. There are no possibilities. If you're being attacked by a wolfman or a vampire, there's the possibility that you get turned into some sort of amazing creature.
That's true. Wolfman doesn't have a great success record for actually killing people. There's a lot of
just turning
wolfmen get created.
Yeah. And so you're not necessarily losing your life. You're just losing a branch that you were probably going down, which was like, having a family and being normal and not biting people. And now you're biting people a lot more.
Right.
But same thing with vampires. More people biting, probably a lot longer lifespan. Everything else, you could probably, I don't know, you could do it.
So, yeah, I'm excited by how people are going to take this show now. Because I kind of would like a revival or a reimagining or a re-emerging appreciation for vampires.
Don't you remember that one vampire show that came out on Netflix a couple years ago? It was a 4-part miniseries, and it was, the first episode was like, wow, and then the next 3 episodes were like,
Dracula, the BBC Dracula?
Yeah.
Or wait, was it BBC or was it just
I don't know, it was
Netflix?
On Netflix. It could have been BBC.
It was
first episode
so
was
disappointing.
That first episode was so cool.
Yeah. And then the showrunner, I forgot the name of the showrunner, but he's like the guy that does this type of thing. It's like he did Doctor Who, like the Tenant and
he did Tenet?
The next run. No, not the movie. David Tennant, Doctor Who.
Oh.
Very much so, like, this is going to have a big dramatic conclusion and, snarkiness in between. And it was just, man, had so much promise in the beginning, just shit the bed. But yeah, like I would like more imagination around vampires.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's time for a reemergence, because it's kind of been tainted and associated. I'm not going to look down on people that like it, but really the association right now is Twilight.
Yeah.
Whereas previously it was Anne Rice, which has a cool element to it, but a lot of people a lot of people couldn't get into it. A lot of the gothic stuff, but this really opens it up to like, this is a general horror idea.
True Blood was very popular.
True Blood was really popular.
And it was a fun show. Kind of went off the rails towards the end there, but you know,
but I mean, that's a while ago now.
True Blood
is a while ago.
Yeah, it's like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I Am Legend was a fabulous kind of reimagining of like vampires, or
that wasn't vampires. It was monsters. They're like speed wide mouth monsters.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know,
There's
there's a little leeway in there, right?
Felt like they were just meth addict monsters.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm getting so tired of just getting my ass crammed with zombies. Just like, more zombies. Shove it into every orifice. Don't you love zombies?
Yeah, I know.
It's like, can't we do something with something else?
It's it'd be cool if people were doing zombies well, but they're just not. That stopped in the 90s, sorry. Or in the 2004.
Yeah.
After that, it's all done.
Yeah, let's just cool it for a little while. It's so played out now. Like, after Zombieland, it's like...
Well, here you got your...
After Zombieland, like, wouldn't you be embarrassed to do another zombie movie? You're like, all right. It's like... It's the same as doing, like, another Cabin in the Woods thing after Cabin in the Woods. Like, okay, this has been parodied to the point of, like, completely disassembling it as an option.
Well, here's your wish come true. Literally our favorite horror director tackling vampires in a completely imaginative way.
Yeah.
I mean, man, and the way this series handles my emotions, I love it.
The first time watching it through, I was like, this is like where I kind of measured against Haunting of Hill House, because Haunting of Hill House was so emotional and just had every episode just had like a capstone of some kind of
bangers,
beautiful message about humanity and living life and loss and whatnot. And this one, it's not making as much of a point of saying, this is what this is, but it has those moments, and I'm appreciating it more on the second watch through, because the monologues are fantastic. So Joe getting forgiven by Lisa is fantastic. Like the story of Monsignor Pruitt. I think
the love story going on here between Luke and the pregnant lady. Jesus.
Oh, Riley.
Between Riley and Aaron.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like underpinning under there. That's just my meets my seal of approval.
Yeah.
Like, it has people that feel real and stakes, emotional stakes.
Mm-hmm.
So this one ends with Paul being resurrected and Bev basically announcing that he's Monsignor Pruitt. And so inside that building is Lisa's parents, so the mayor and his wife, the groundskeeper Willie guy.
Yeah.
I don't even know his name. And was there someone else, or was that it?
I think that might have been it.
So another cliffhanger to lead us into the next episode.
And what a cliffhanger, man. He's dead. His eyes are red. I mean, he's straight dead.
Yeah.
I was like, where do we go from here?
Yeah. So that's our episode. Thank you. Go with Mike. Please subscribe and leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. If you like this after show, share it with a friend. Lots of ways you can help support the podcast if you're interested. Best way to do that is just go to whorrormovietalk.com. We want to give a shout out to Dustin Goebel, our resident artist, who
he fucks so
hard.
Oh my God.
You can find him on Instagram at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00. And let us know what you think about the after show or anything that we said, or complain about whatever at 682-253-4468. And we'll see you on the flippity flop.
Catch you on the flip flop. Bye-bye.